Then I got up and put pen to paper. Halfway through, I thought, this has potential. That made me think about something Dad had said a couple of weeks ago during one of my last visits with him. I've been here about a month, came the Monday before Thanksgiving. He was giving his wonderful nurses a hard time, as usual. And to the one helping him at the moment, he remarked, "You have potential." She smiled and said, "Thank you," as if he'd made her day. She was clearly surprised, especially coming from him, since he'd been pretty cranky lately. But he wasn't finished. In his wheelchair, he suddenly turned to her before she could walk away and deadpanned, "Potential's like a fart with no thrust." That was my dad. Classic, original. So Doc, I love you and thank you. Here's to you. You've heard of the book, Dreams of My Father by President Obama. Well, here are reflections of my father, my memories. This is called My Dad. My dad was a giant to me when I was a kid. I can recall I was maybe 7 or 8, him taking me to Washington Bullets games at Capitol Center, often on a school night. The fact that it was just me and him made it really special. That was something I cherished. Many times we entered through a special VIP entrance with a long red carpet. To get there, we'd have to walk down a ramp from the ground level parking lot, where everyone else was entering through the regular gates. It was very quiet, exclusive. No one else was going in that way. We were always greeted at the entrance by an usher in a red sport coat and dark blue trousers. We often sat just rows from the action, or in suites high up that were stocked with food and drink. I look forward to going to those games, being with my dad. I remember hanging out at work with my dad, watching him run Eastern Boys Club in Northeast, or Jolliffe Boys Club in Georgetown, directing his staff, leading, seeing him in charge. Powerful imagery for a son, for a young black boy. I grew up there. It was there where he first started me playing football and basketball, and where I learned how to shoot pool. Everybody at the club knew me. Mr. Dade's son. I was like a mascot. Every day was the same. Playing, running around. Then at noon, lunch break, I'd take a break and find my dad to get some money to go to the great burger joint across the street right there on Wisconsin Avenue. He let me go on my own or with friends. He made the boys club home for me. I remember every day helping my dad and Glenn Harris set up for the popular high school summer basketball league that they founded. It was the best league in the city, where legends played and watched, like Hall of Famers Red Auerbach and Morgan Wooten and John Thompson and John McClendon and Adrian Danby and John P. Davis and so many more. My dad knew them all, and they knew him. I remember my dad, a former college baseball player, playing in a staff game at Jolliffe and breaking his leg, sliding into home. Oh boy, he was my hero then. I idolized him for that. I also remember him with me at my football games at Silver Spring Boys Club with his trademark coach's shorts, high socks, and baseball cap, watching intently from the sidelines, imploring me, coaching me. From my dad, I got my passion, my humor, discipline, strength, toughness, love of sports, love of history. I got my compassion from my dad, leadership quality, a belief that I could do anything or be anything. From my dad, I got my charm, kindness, an appreciation of all people, of all races, cultures, and backgrounds. My strong opinions, the willingness to take a stand, my vocabulary. You often hear people say, he or she wrote the book on, well, my dad wrote the book on many things. He wrote the book on being original. He wrote the book on trailblazing. He wrote the book on succeeding against the odds. He wrote the book on being likable. He wrote the book on networking. He wrote the book on perseverance. He wrote the book on thinking big, dreaming big. He wrote many books you won't find in any library or bookstore or on Amazon, but I've read and benefited from them all. This is how I saw my dad, and that was all that mattered. How I saw him became the fuel I needed to drive me to achieve, to excel, to climb to the highest heights, to overcome adversity, to stay focused, and to overcome all obstacles I've faced in my life. He got me ready for the world. Like the great jazz and Motown artists of his day in the 50s and 60s that he loved so much, my dad had his own unique original hits, like Use Your Finesse Muscles. You're like a bull in a china closet. Go sit down somewhere. They got theirs. You got yours to get. I'm not some milquetoast dude. The playful, come here, let me box your jaw. The pointed and firm, that's irrelevant and superfluous. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. Gimme, can you let me spare? Pit it, pip. Who struck John as they're running around here like, boogity, boogity, boogity. That's all y'all do, up and down the stairs. Boogity, boogity, boogity. You act like you got a tapeworm or something. You act like you got the heebie-jeebies. Go sit down somewhere. And I say that to say this. And the B side of it, you say that to say what? We heard these all the time. They played over and over again, just like those Motown hits. My dad lived a life of service. He was a giver, not self-serving. He gave far more than he got. He was generous, some say to a fault. He always put others before himself, especially his family. My dad inspired others. He urged many of my friends to reach for the sky in their education, in their professions, or career plans and ambitions. He was demanding and set high expectations for us and anyone he coached, counseled, advised, mentored, and there were hundreds. It is said that experience is a cruel teacher. It gives the test before the lesson. Well, my dad believed you didn't have to get the lesson after the fact. He believed in thinking ahead and that you didn't have to learn everything the hard way, like so many of my friends so painfully did. I avoided a lot of trouble, pitfalls, setbacks, and disasters by making good choices, by thinking before just doing something because everyone else was. I cheated. I had the answers to the test, thanks to him. He was right most of the time. I just didn't always tell him that. I thought he was psychic or something. I was fortunate to have a dad. I was fortunate to have my dad. He wasn't perfect. He was my dad.
That's all right. That's all right. It's all right.
Take your time.
The Holy Quran says in Surah 2, 156, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. We belong to Allah, and to Him we return. And so I say, goodbye for now, Dad. I'll see you on the other side. I'll see you on the other side.